Right then, let's have a look at some clean guitar, shall we? Because I think it's going to be a bit of a different result with the clean guitar. I did actually forget to, shamefully, I forgot to record the RME, so I've not got that reference point for the clean, but I think we can safely say that it's not going to be as good as any of the other preamps based on what we found out with the distorted guitar. So I'm fine with that. So let's just compare the different preamps against one another. Let's start with a different one this time. Let's start with the Neve. And the API. So again, the Neve seems to capture like the roundness of the attack of the individual notes a lot better, I think, than their API. Yeah, there's just a bit more of that mid-range kind of dynamic in there, and it just sounds rounded and in a nice way. Whereas the API sounds a little bit blocky to me. Let's listen to it again. Yeah, the Neve is just a bit clearer, isn't it? And a bit more sort of shiny sounding overall. As the APIs, yeah, is definitely more chunky and a bit more of a slightly sharp attack. So I'm going to say for this type of sound, I prefer the Neve so far. Compare the Neve then to the Cranbourne. So here's the Neve again. And then the Cranbourne. So the Cranbourne's a bit like halfway between the Neve and the API, isn't it? It's still quite rounded, but it's not quite as shiny as the Neve, I'd say. Let's listen to that again. Cranbourne. Yeah, it's sort of compressing it a bit more, isn't it, that Cranbourne? It feels like the Neve is a lot more dynamic. There's more sort of poke in that sound, which is sounds good to my ear. It's preferable, I'd say. And let's compare it to the SSL. So here's the SSL. And the Neve. Yeah, I prefer the Neve for sure. The SSL is just not as dynamic and not as shiny sounding. So certainly for that glassy kind of Stratocaster clean type sound, I'm going to go with the Neve. Let's compare them all side by side. So the Neve. API. Cranbourne. SSL. Yeah, I prefer the Neve and the Cranbourne for that. One last little thing to check out, some of the additional features that are on the Cranbourne and the Neve. The Cranbourne's got a Mojo section on it, which is basically sort of like a dynamic EQ and saturator that you can use. It's got two settings: thump, which is like a low end boost plus a top end boost, so like smiley face curve almost without the cut in the middle. And it's got cream is the other one, I believe, or silk. What's it called? It's called cream. Cream is the other one, which is like a narrow sort of cut in the mid-range around 500-600 hertz. I used the thump setting on here because for the clean guitar, I thought that sort of brightness boost and a low end boost would complement it nicely. So let's compare the Cranbourne clean against the Cranbourne with this thump added. So here's the clean. And the thump. So I like that. I like particularly what it's doing to the low end. The way it fattens it out is really quite pleasing on the ear. So yeah, that gets a good thumbs up for me actually. That thump, I'll definitely be using that for clean guitars and probably other things as well. With the SSL, it's got some EQ on it as well. There's actually quite a lot on that channel strip really for how good it is. It's got a top and bottom EQ, and it's got a compression which is like, it's set permanently to like a 2-to-1 ratio. And from what I can tell with my ear, I did look at the specs, but I've forgotten to be honest. The attack isn't that short, so it's not like an ultra short attack, and you can't adjust the attack and release. It's a real basic compressor. You've just got a threshold control and an on and off control, and that's it. But I was quite impressed with the results actually. Have a listen to this, this section here. So first of all, the plain SSL. And now the compression. I've obviously levelled off those sounds to make them the same volume, but I'm quite impressed with that compression actually. It does a nice job of sort of subtly pinning down the sound, but maintaining the transients. You can still hear the transients kind of cutting through, but the general body of the sound is sort of just pinned down subtly, just done a bit of the job of the compression that you'd probably end up adding later. So I used only a tiny bit on that, just so the green light was just flashing a little bit, so I didn't want to overdo it. But it's just enough really to get you started with the compression on the sound like that. You might want to compress it later in your mix, but that's doing part of the job for you on the way in, which is a great idea. So yeah, again, that's a real thumbs up for me. I really like that compression with this kind of guitar sound.